A 20-person AI startup bought a company with 3,000 employees. This is Silicon Valley's latest bet. So how does it work? Crescendo was a young company building AI for customer support. In October 2024, it acquired PartnerHero, a customer support provider with more than 200 corporate clients and millions of customer conversations every day. The buyer was trying to automate the same kind of work those 3,000 people were doing. The deal gave Crescendo the contracts, customer relationships, operating data, and authority to decide how the work would be done. The strategy is called an AI rollup. Buy service companies, combine them, and use AI to rebuild the work from the inside. The idea quickly moved beyond a single acquisition. Less than 2 years later, investors were preparing to test it in a $6.3 billion takeover. Selling AI to a large company can take months. A new system has to pass procurement, security reviews, and pilot programs. Managers have to approve it. Employees have to change routines they may have followed for years. And even after all of that, the AI company receives only a software subscription. If the system allows an accounting firm or a call center to complete more work with fewer hours, most of the economic benefit stays with the customer. Buying the service company changes that. The investor receives the revenue from the entire service contract, and it gains access to the workflow itself, the incoming documents, the unusual cases, the employee corrections, and the final result delivered to the client. Ownership does not make implementation easy. Employees still have to use the system. Clients still have to trust the service. Regulated work still carries legal responsibility. But the owner no longer has to persuade an outside customer to deploy the system. It controls the budget, the process, and the pace of adoption. That is why technology investors have become interested in service businesses. Companies spend far more on accountants, lawyers, customer support teams, IT providers, and property managers than they spend on the software attached to those jobs. An AI rollup is an attempt to capture that larger pool of revenue. Current, the accounting platform previously known as Crete Professionals Alliance, offers one of the clearest examples. Current was founded in 2023 and is backed by Thrive Holdings. By the time it disclosed its scale in 2026, it had brought together nearly 30 independent accounting firms, employed more than 2,000 people, and generated more than $500 million in annual revenue. By revenue, that would place it among the 30 largest accounting groups in the United States. Current does not immediately erase the identity of every firm it acquires. Local practices keep their names. Their partners retain leadership roles and some ownership. That structure reflects how accounting firms create value. A client may trust a particular partner more than the name on the office door. Change the name, leadership, and process too quickly, and the client may leave. So Current keeps the local relationship while trying to standardize the system behind it. Tax preparation shows how that works. Before a return is filed, documents have to be collected, numbers entered, missing information found, and forms checked. A senior accountant then reviews the result and accepts responsibility for the final filing. Current and OpenAI developed a system called Tax AI. It reads source documents, extracts information, and prepares a first draft. Accountants inspect the work, correct it, and make the final decisions. Repetitive preparation moves to the system. Complex or high-risk judgment remains with people. According to Current and OpenAI, Tax AI processed about 7,000 returns during one filing season and reduced preparation time by an average of 31%. The companies described one especially striking case. A senior accountant had spent 180 hours preparing a client's returns the previous year. With the new system, the work took 15 hours. He used some of the time he saved to call every client and explain the return personally. But the ownership structure may matter even more than that productivity gain. Because Current owns the accounting firms, it can see what the AI drafted, what the accountants changed, and what was ultimately submitted. Repeated mistakes can become test cases, and a better process developed at one firm can be introduced at the next. Buying the firm creates a closed feedback loop. Real documents enter, AI prepares the work, people correct it, and the owner keeps the record needed to improve the system. A software vendor standing outside the firm rarely sees that complete chain. The same structure can be applied to customer support, legal work, or property management. Break the service into standard tasks, complicated exceptions, and final responsibility. Then decide which parts can be handled by AI and which must remain with people. Current's technology is new. Its financial structure is not. Private equity firms have used rollups for decades. An industry may contain 100 small accounting practices. Each has its own owner, clients, finance department, recruiting process, and technology. Some owners are approaching retirement. Their children may not want to inherit the business. And each firm may be too small to invest in better systems or compete for younger accountants. A private equity firm buys one successful practice as a platform. It then acquires 10 or 20 more and combines them into the same group. Private equity can make money through consolidation. 10 firms no longer need 10 separate finance, HR, and IT systems. They can share purchasing, recruiting, and marketing. If the integration works, the combined company operates at a lower cost. It can also make money through a change in valuation. A small practice earning $1 in profit might sell for $8. Once dozens of firms have been assembled into a national platform, investors may pay $10 or $12 for that same dollar of profit. The gap between buying at local business prices and selling at national platform prices is known as multiple arbitrage. Dentists, veterinary clinics, insurance brokers, and property managers have all been popular targets. Private equity has repeated this process across many fragmented industries. AI adds another potential source of return. Instead of consolidating only finance, HR, and procurement, the owner tries to redesign the service customers actually pay for, how tax returns are prepared, how support calls are answered, how property is managed, and how documents are reviewed. One unusual acquisition could be dismissed as an experiment. But Crescendo was not alone. General Catalyst has been one of the most active firms behind the idea. According to reports at the time, Crescendo's acquisition of PartnerHero was completed alongside a new financing round. Crescendo raised $50 million and was valued at $500 million. The Wall Street Journal has reported that General Catalyst created a $1.5 billion fund for AI-enabled service businesses, with roughly half intended for companies built through acquisitions. The firm has reportedly studied 15 to 20 industries and helped create around 10 companies pursuing versions of the model. Thrive Capital built its own acquisition platform, Thrive Holdings, with more than $1 billion to buy service companies and rebuild their operations with AI. Thrive Holdings also formed a close partnership with OpenAI. Researchers, engineers, and product staff work directly with businesses inside the group, developing systems for real operating environments rather than controlled demonstrations. Lightspeed, 8 VC, Slow Ventures, and investor Elad Gil have also backed versions of the strategy. AI rollups are no longer a collection of isolated deals. The financial appeal begins with labor costs. In a simplified example, a service business earns $100 in revenue. $60 or $70 goes to frontline labor. After technology, management, and other expenses, perhaps $10 remains as operating profit. If AI takes over a large share of repetitive work while prices and business volume remain stable, labor costs might fall to $30 or $40. In that simplified model, a 10% margin could rise to 30 or even 40%. That is why labor-intensive industries attract so much attention. Crescendo's 3,000 customer service employees are both the workforce it acquired and the largest area in which productivity could change. How much work AI can absorb and how many people the company will eventually need will determine whether the acquisition makes financial sense. The human consequence is not separate from the financial model. It is built into it. The leading investors argue that reducing headcount is not the final objective. General Catalyst says AI could help a small local accounting firm provide advisory services that were previously affordable only to large corporate clients. A customer support provider might answer requests it once abandoned because the queue was too long. That growth argument matters because cost reduction alone produces a more profitable traditional company. For an AI roll-up to generate venture-style returns, revenue may have to grow faster than payroll. The business must serve more customers, create new services, or move into higher-value work without adding employees at the same rate. The next test is whether the strategy can move beyond networks of small firms. In May 2026, an investment group called Long Lake agreed to acquire American Express Global Business Travel for approximately $6.3 billion in cash. Amex GBT is the world's largest corporate travel management platform and a public company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Long Lake is backed by General Catalyst and describes its purpose as using AI to transform service businesses. The transaction was expected to close in the second half of 2026 and had not yet been completed when this script was prepared. If completed, it would test the same theory inside a global service company with tens of thousands of employees, operating across countries, regulations, and corporate clients. That is a very different experiment from buying a network of small, local firms. The model contains a basic contradiction. The service industries that are easiest to buy are often the hardest to standardize. AI rollups prefer industries with many small companies, limited digitization, and customers who rarely change providers. Those conditions create plenty of acquisition targets, relatively low prices, and stable relationships. But these industries are often fragmented for a reason. The service is local. Processes differ from one office to another. Customers trust specific people. Buying 10 accounting firms may mean inheriting 10 document standards, 10 operating habits, and 10 sets of exceptions. Rollups have struggled with this problem before. During the e-commerce boom, Thrasio acquired more than 200 small brands that sold products on Amazon. It raised about $3.4 billion and was valued at one point at $10 billion. From the outside, the businesses looked similar because they all sold through the same online marketplace. Underneath, they had different suppliers, inventory systems, advertising accounts, and operating teams. Their financial statements could be consolidated quickly. Their businesses could not. When consumer demand weakened and interest rates rose, inventory problems, debt, and failed integration arrived together. In February 2024, Thrasio filed for bankruptcy protection. A company once valued at $10 billion left its shareholders with nothing. At Thrasio, acquisitions moved faster than integration. Expansion became a way of buying more problems. An AI rollup has to solve everything a traditional rollup does, and then go further. It must standardize data, workflows, and quality control. It must decide where automated output is reliable, where human review remains necessary, and how to persuade employees and clients to accept a new way of delivering the service. Euclid Ventures has argued that this means building two world-class companies under one roof, an AI software company and a service operator. The two businesses follow different rules. Once software is built, it can often serve another customer at very little additional cost. A service company depends on integration, compliance, cost control, and thousands of ordinary operating decisions. Building either one is difficult. Building both at the same time may multiply the difficulty. The required return adds another problem. A 2 or 3 times return can be respectable in private equity. Venture capital funds are built around the possibility of much larger outcomes. No one yet knows whether AI efficiency can reliably turn private equity-style returns into venture-style returns. The investment case is not only about better AI. It depends on whether ownership makes the technology more valuable. Investors are paying for more than the current profits of these service companies. They are also paying for an existing customer base, a record of how the work is actually done, and the possibility that revenue can grow faster than the number of employees. If that happens, a local accounting firm or customer support provider may no longer be valued only as a collection of employees and contracts. It could also be valued as a platform through which AI is deployed, corrected, and improved. If it does not happen, venture funds may discover that they bought ordinary service companies at technology prices. The harder question concerns the people now placed inside the same company. On one side are investors and engineers who understand algorithms, software, and capital. They believe services can be broken into tasks, measured, and increasingly automated. On the other side are people who understand local businesses. Which client trusts which partner? Which tax return contains an unusual problem? And which angry customer needs to be heard before a policy is explained? The first group is now buying the second. But it is not obvious who will transform whom. Engineers may redesign the service business. The realities of the service business may also change how the technology is built. For now, that remains the unanswered part of Silicon Valley's AI roll-up strategy. We'll keep following the business and financial forces reshaping AI. If that's your kind of story, subscribe. There's a lot more to come.